There is no hunting like the hunting of man, and those who have hunted armed men long enough and liked it never care for anything else thereafter. Ernest Hemingway. The quote you've provided is from Ernest Hemingway, and it appears in his 1936 short story On the Blue Water, a Gulf Stream Letter, which was published in Esquire magazine. This particular line is often cited as it delves into the psyche of individuals who engage in the most extreme of pursuits, hunting other humans, particularly in the context of war or combat. Hemingway, known for his adventurous lifestyle and for being an ambulance driver during World War I, often explored themes of courage, fear, and the human condition under pressure in his writing. The quote suggests that the thrill and intensity of such a grave and dangerous activity as hunting other humans, especially in a military or combat situation, can be so consuming and exhilarating that other pursuits may seem dull by comparison. This line is sometimes referenced in discussions about the psychology of soldiers and combat veterans, as it speaks to the profound and sometimes troubling impact that the experience of war and conflict can have on individuals, often leaving them with an adrenaline addiction or a sense of restlessness in civilian life. The quote is a reflection on the darker aspects of human nature and the haunting effects that life and death experiences can have on those who survive them. Courage is grace under pressure. Ernest Hemingway. This famous quote, often attributed to Ernest Hemingway, encapsulates his perspective on courage as the ability to maintain composure and dignity in the face of adversity, challenges, or danger. The phrase grace under pressure implies a level of poise and steadfastness that isn't diminished by stress or crisis. Hemingway's characters often embody this ideal, facing physical and emotional trials with stoicism and resilience. This concept of courage does not merely refer to bold or brash actions, but to a composed, deliberate, and elegant manner of dealing with life's inevitable hardships. The quote is emblematic of Hemingway's broader worldview, as reflected in both his written works and his personal ethos, where the measure of a person's character is often found in their behavior during the most trying of circumstances.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more valuable quotes from the legends.
When you go to war as a boy, you have a great illusion of immortality. Other people get killed, not you. Then, when you are badly wounded the first time, you lose that illusion, and you know it can happen to you. Ernest Hemingway. This quote by Ernest Hemingway reflects on the loss of innocence and the harsh confrontation with mortality that a young soldier faces. The experience of war has a profound impact on a person's understanding of life and death. Initially, there may be a sense of invulnerability or a belief that one is exempt from the ultimate sacrifice that others make. However, this illusion is shattered when one experiences a close encounter with death, especially through a significant injury. Hemingway, known for his direct and impactful prose, often drew upon his own experiences in war to convey the stark realities of combat. Having served in World War I as an ambulance driver and being seriously wounded, Hemingway spoke from personal experience about the transformative effect such an experience can have on a person's psyche. The quote speaks to the maturation process that occurs when one is faced with their own vulnerability. It's a powerful realization that fundamentally alters one's perception of life, instilling a more acute awareness of the fragility of human existence and the randomness of survival in war. This theme of disillusionment and the recognition of mortality is prevalent in much of Hemingway's work. Always do sober what you said you'd do drunk. That will teach you to keep your mouth shut. Ernest Hemingway, there is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow men. True nobility lies in being superior to your former self. Ernest Hemingway. Both quotes attributed to Ernest Hemingway reflect his straightforward and no-nonsense approach to life, as well as his deep insights into personal character and growth. The first quote, "Always do sober what you said you'd do drunk. That will teach you to keep your mouth shut." This wry advice is classic Hemingway, emphasizing personal accountability and the importance of thinking before speaking. The humor in the suggestion is that if one were to actually follow through with the often impulsive or grandiose plans made while intoxicated, one might learn to be more cautious with their words when under the influence. It's a lesson in discretion and the value of considering the weight of one's words. The second quote, "There is nothing noble in being superior to your fellow men. True nobility lies in being superior to your former self." This profound observation speaks to Hemingway's beliefs about personal honor and self-improvement. Rather than comparing oneself to others and striving to outdo them, Hemingway suggests that true nobility is found in self-reflection and self-betterment. It's an encouragement to focus on personal development and to measure success not against the achievements of others, but against our own past efforts and accomplishments. This aligns with a theme that runs through much of Hemingway's work and life, the ideal of individualism and the internal struggle to overcome personal limitations and past failures. The first panacea for a mismanaged nation is inflation of the currency, the second is war. Both bring a temporary prosperity, both bring a permanent ruin. But both are the refuge of political and economic opportunists. Ernest Hemingway. The quote attributed to Hemingway, by equating inflation and war as ill-conceived solutions for national mismanagement, underscores the peril of short-term fixes. Inflation, a veiled tax, erodes purchasing power, breeding long-term economic instability. War, while potentially unifying and economically stimulating through production and employment, ultimately extracts a grim toll in human life, societal trauma, and financial resources. Both strategies offer a mirage of prosperity, yet lead to ruin, highlighting the propensity of leaders to pursue policies that, while politically expedient, are detrimental in the long run. These measures are symptomatic of deeper governance failures, mismanagement, and short-sightedness. The real insight here is the critique of leadership that sacrifices future stability for immediate gain, revealing a cycle of crisis governance where the cure can be as destructive as the ailment. The lesson: enduring solutions require foresight and restraint, resisting the seduction of quick fixes. I love sleep. My life has the tendency to fall apart when I'm awake, you know? Ernest Hemingway. I like to listen. I have learned a great deal from listening carefully. Most people never listen. Ernest Hemingway. These Hemingway quotes reveal contrasting states of introspection and engagement with the world. The first quote expresses a preference for the escape that sleep provides, suggesting a respite from the chaos of conscious life. It hints at Hemingway's personal struggles, reflecting a common human desire to retreat from life's complexities and the vulnerability we face in our waking hours. The second quote extols the virtue of listening, a skill often undervalued in a world that emphasizes expression. Listening is portrayed as a pathway to knowledge and understanding, a subtle critique of society's tendency towards self-absorption and inattention. Together, these quotes highlight a balance between inward reflection and outward attentiveness. Hemingway's words suggest that while turning inward can be a defense against life's turmoil, turning outward and truly listening to others can be a source of wisdom and growth. The underpinning lesson is the importance of finding equilibrium between engaging with the world and seeking refuge within oneself. There is no friend as loyal as a book. Ernest Hemingway never mistake motion for action. Ernest Hemingway. The first Hemingway quote speaks to the steadfast companionship provided by books. Books offer a unique form of friendship. They are constant, reliable, and enriching. Unlike human relationships, which can be fickle and fraught with complexity, a book remains an unwavering presence, offering the same words and comfort each time it is opened. This sentiment highlights the value of literature as a source of solace, knowledge, and escape. The second quote draws a distinction between mere activity and meaningful progress. Motion refers to activity that is often busy or energetic but lacks purpose or direction. Action, in contrast, is intentional and goal-oriented. The statement warns against the illusion of productivity when no real results are achieved. This insight encourages a focus on outcomes rather than just activities, promoting efficiency and purposefulness in one's endeavors. Together, these quotes celebrate the virtues of introspection and intention. They suggest that in both personal growth and productivity, quality and substance are more important than quantity or appearances. The overarching message is to seek out true companionship and purpose in all aspects of life. All things truly wicked start from innocence. Ernest Hemingway. The quote, "All things truly wicked start from innocence" from Ernest Hemingway is a meditation on the nature of evil and its origins. It suggests that wickedness is not born from malice alone, but often emerges from a place of naivety or purity. This paradoxical view challenges the binary perspective of good versus evil by proposing that the seeds of harmful actions or intentions might initially be sown with no ill will. The statement prompts reflection on the human condition and the complexities of moral development. It implies that innocence, with its lack of awareness and experience, can inadvertently lead to destructive outcomes. This progression might occur as individuals, initially naive, encounter life's complexities and respond in ways that become corrupted or misguided. Hemingway's observation can be a warning about the unforeseen consequences of actions taken without foresight. It underscores the importance of awareness and the potential for transformation within everyone, reminding us that the path from innocence to wickedness is often gradual and unnoticed until the results are manifest. The lesson here encourages vigilance and self-awareness and the cultivation of wisdom to prevent the corruption of one's innate innocence. Every man's life ends the same way. It is only the details of how he lived and how he died that distinguish one man from another. Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway's reflection on mortality underscores a universal truth: death is the great equalizer, indifferent to one's status, wealth, or achievements. The quote illuminates the idea that the significance of a life lies not in its inevitable end, but in the individual narrative, the unique experiences, choices, and legacy one leaves behind. It is a poignant reminder that while we cannot control our mortality, we can shape the life we lead and the memory we imprint on others. This perspective invites a focus on personal agency and the value of a life marked by distinct actions and relationships. Hemingway, whose own life was as rich and complex as his characters, thus advocates for a life lived with intention and character, where the richness of one's story is the true measure of distinction. Never think that war, no matter how necessary, nor how justified, is not a crime. Ernest Hemingway. This Hemingway quote is a sobering reminder of the inherent tragedy of war. By characterizing war as a crime, regardless of its justification or necessity, Hemingway acknowledges the moral complexity and the inevitable suffering that accompany armed conflict. The statement serves as a condemnation of the glorification of war, highlighting the ethical burden and the irreversible harm inflicted upon individuals and societies. Hemingway's own experiences as an ambulance driver during World War I and a correspondent in other conflicts gave him a first-hand view of war's brutal realities. His words encourage a critical examination of war's justifications against its actual human cost. Despite the reasons nations may go to war, self-defense, liberation, or enforcing justice, the acts within war often involve violence and death, which Hemingway views as fundamentally criminal. The lesson here is a call for profound consideration of the consequences of war, an urge to remember its human toll, and a plea for peaceful resolutions whenever possible. Hemingway's assertion is a timeless reflection on the paradox of war, the pursuit of peace or justice through means that inherently contradict those ends. Fear of death increases in exact proportion to increase in wealth. Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway's observation on the relationship between the fear of death and wealth touches on a fundamental irony of the human condition. As individuals amass wealth, they often become more invested in their earthly life, leading to a greater fear of losing it all, including their own existence. The accumulation of wealth can create a false sense of permanence and control, an illusion that is shattered by the inevitability of death. This quote encourages reflection on the nature of attachment and the psychological impact of material gain. Wealth can bring comfort and security, but also an increased anxiety over its potential loss, extending to the ultimate loss one can experience, the end of life. The more one has, the more one has to lose, which can intensify the apprehension about death. Hemingway's words serve as a caution against allowing material possessions to define one's sense of self or security. They also speak to the importance of confronting mortality in a way that can lead to a more meaningful and less fear-driven existence, irrespective of wealth. The lesson is a call for balance, to appreciate life's comforts without becoming so attached that the fear of death overshadows the joy of living. Madam, all stories, if continued far enough, end in death, and he is no true storyteller who would keep that from you. Ernest Hemingway. This Hemingway quote is a stark reminder of the omnipresence of mortality in narrative and life. It speaks to the honesty required in storytelling, the acknowledgement that all human endeavors, paths, and stories ultimately culminate in death. This is not a morbid fixation, but a recognition of life's finite nature, which gives stories their stakes, gravity, and realism. The quote implies that to sanitize or omit this truth is to deny an essential part of the human experience. Death gives context to life's achievements and struggles, and in literature, it often serves as a critical element that imparts wisdom or resolution to the reader. Hemingway, known for his economical and unflinching prose, suggests that a storyteller's duty is to reflect life's full spectrum, including its end. This perspective invites readers to confront their mortality, not as a source of despair, but as a catalyst for meaningful living. It is a call to embrace the totality of the human narrative, to live and to tell stories with an awareness of their inevitable conclusion, and to find within that understanding an impetus to imbue our stories with purpose and authenticity.